Preemptively cutting stickers because I don't want to do it on camera. And I don't know where I put my knife. All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Nick. As always, you guys can call me Tetra Ninja. And today we are going to be taking a look early at some PlayStation 5 accessories that you could actually buy right now. They are released today. They're in stores for the general public. Kind of like what they did with the PlayStation 4. They actually released the controller a couple weeks ahead of the console launch for some odd reason. So unfortunately, I was not sent an early review console from Sony. So I can't give you guys a proper review of them because obviously I'm playing on air if I'm trying to use the controller. So a proper review isn't here, but I can give you guys my general impressions of what I think of them both. So first off, we're gonna start off with the charging cradle. Charging cradles are always handy because if the battery life on these controllers or anything like the PlayStation 4 controllers, the battery life on the PlayStation controllers were absolutely terrible. You get like 5 hours of gameplay and then you have to recharge them. They're not that great. So having a charging cradle on your desk is always handy. So we're gonna take a look at this screw the sticker. I'm just gonna rip it off. Even though I cut the sticker, I'm just gonna rip it off. Let's see. So we got this here, a box on the inside. Fortunately for us, the cradle isn't that expensive, even though they're making all their money with this bad boy right here because these controllers, it's literally one of the most expensive controllers that has ever been released. So you never want to buy those cheap third-party controllers. So it is what it is. So there's the actual charging cradle by itself. It has the same kind of Wi-Fi design as the PlayStation 5 console. If you actually stand it like this, it almost looks like a PlayStation 5, which is probably the whole point of it. You get a manual, you get an AC adapter. You have to find an outlet somewhere in your ever-growing collection of wires that are in your desk, as well as your entertainment unit. At least they have a little notch right here on the bottom that allows you to kind of like hide this right there. And then obviously the other end plugs into the wall. Now we move on to the actual controller. I was so excited to do the unboxing, I actually forgot to take a look at the actual box, so that'll give you more information on what all the features of this controller. So on the back we have something called haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, built-in microphone, just like the previous generation, signature comfort, so I'm assuming that just means different ergonomics of the controller, and that's pretty much it. And then we have the French side right here because we live in Canada and everything has to be bilingual. These controllers, it's like I said, is one of the most expensive controllers that has ever been released. It's about like $20 more than the last generation controller. But apparently it is jam-packed with a lot of features, so maybe it will be worth it in the long run. It's a pretty no frills unboxing experience. As you can see, it's literally perfectly cut cardboard inside the box. It's not fancy in any sort of way, but it just works. So put that down there. And then, let's see here. So yeah, it's pretty good feeling. I'm gonna play around with this thing for a couple minutes, then I'll give you guys my general thoughts of what I think about it. Boop. Boop. All right, so let's link these up together. So like any other charging cradle, it's kind of self-explanatory how it works. But this one actually works really well. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, but there's a very satisfying click when you drop in the controller into the cradle, and you don't have to finagle it too much. It kind of just pulls itself and gets there on its own, which is something that I really do appreciate it. There is just a tiny bit of clearance from the bottom of the controller. So once again, not a whole lot of finagling. It looks good, but it looks very sturdy in there as well. And there's actually rubber feet on the bottom of the cradle, so when you have it on table, it does not slide around too much, which is something that I really do much appreciate, because it is bottom loaded. So at the end of the PlayStation 4 life cycle, they introduced these back button attachments that go to the bottom of the controller. So I assume that eventually some sort of attachment will come out for this controller as well. So if that happens, most likely you're gonna have to find a different charging cradle that will charge like this, opposed to how this one is designed, with chargers like this, because obviously when you have the back button attachment, that won't be possible. So that's maybe something you might want to hold off. All right, so I've been playing around with this thing for a good 15 minutes now. I actually busted out a PlayStation 4 controller as well, just so I can do like a direct comparison of the two side by side and pick one up right away and pick the other one up and kind of basically get a real true to life comparison of what the differences are. So the first thing that I noticed, and something that I was kind of hoping they would have changed but they didn't, is that it's still a very long press for the L2 and R2 button. I was really hoping that they would have shortened these up just a tiny bit. That was probably one of my main complaints with the PlayStation 4 controller as well, that the trigger buttons were a little bit too long, especially when you consider like third-party companies actually sell trigger shortening kits. It's something that I thought they would have fixed, but they didn't. Apparently these are adaptive triggers, whatever that means. I can't test that obviously because I don't have a console. But overall design, I can tell immediately that it's kind of going slightly more in the Xbox direction in terms of design with the handles, mainly with the handles, especially with the face buttons as well. So if you take a look at the PlayStation 4 controller, you'll see like there's two distinct flat surfaces for the face button as well as the D-pad. That's kind of been a signature for a while of Sony controllers. But if you move directly into the comparison of the next generation PlayStation 5 controllers, it is completely contour and flush. There's no longer two distinct surfaces. I'm not exactly sure how much that impacts ergonomics 100%. It certainly does feel good. It feels like it's more form-fitting to my hands. I have medium-sized hands, so it does feel good to hold in the palm. My main concern is if you are a female gamer. My fiance, Tara, she pops in and out of the channel once in a while. She plays a lot of video games and she finds that the Xbox controller is too large for her hands. And so she always prefers, if not given an option, to use a PlayStation controller, just because it's a bit smaller, but still it feels well in her palms. So if you're a gamer with smaller hands, or if you have younger children, just know that it's a bigger controller than it was with the PlayStation 4.
It's hard for me to reach that fully.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought as well.
You're getting it on an angle.
I know. Gotta get those angles, baby. Yeah, it feels, it's too big, right? It feels big. A couple upgrades they've done as well is they've transitioned over to a USB Type-C charging port on the top, which is really welcome. They're kind of killing off micro USB as we progress through the years. So getting everything standardized, I think, is the right call. They've also moved the light bar that was on the PlayStation 4 controller that was originally on the very front. It's now located directly to what I assume is the touchpad right here. It's actually hidden behind the touchpad now, so more cleaner design. You still get the menu and the share button in almost the exact same placement. The microphone, the speaker is directly above the PlayStation logo. You also have what looks like to be a quick mute button, which is really nice to have a quick mute button directly placed on the controller at good arm's reach. They've pretty much retained the exact same joysticks design, especially height-wise as well. They almost look exactly the same. So if you love or hate the PlayStation 4 analogs, it's almost the exact same one. Overall, feels good. One thing that I actually found was really cool is that there's a texture feel on the back of the controller, which is really nice. It gives you extra stability, extra grip. But I don't know if my camera is good enough to pick this up. But the design of the texture is actually the face button logos of the on the right hand side. So the iconic triangle, square, circle, and X. It's actually just been stamped a bunch of times to incorporate into the actual the grip. But yeah, with my limited amount of time with the controller, even though like I said I didn't actually get to play with it, it still feels really good overall to hold in the hands. Once again, if you're a person with smaller hands, younger children, females, you may be deterred just a tiny bit and still prefer the PlayStation 4 controller. But even though they've moved kind of slightly in the direction of design of the Xbox controller with the wing grips, there's still enough distinct PlayStation-esque features that still make it feel like a PlayStation controller. The symmetrical analog sticks, the very iconic face buttons. But yeah, overall, like I said, there's something very special about this controller. I enjoy the fact that they really did make an effort to make it feel like a truly next-gen experience, whereas with the Xbox Series X controller, they just reused the exact same design. Once again, it is a really good design. The Xbox One controller, this feels like next-gen in your hands, so that's pretty much it. What all I can say. For a review of the controller as well as the PlayStation 5 console will be coming out on launch day, so you guys can look forward to that. Hopefully you guys enjoy this early preview of some of the accessories and look forward to more content in the future, all right? As always, have a fantastic day.